Alright, so the title of my movie is called Carlos. Now, in Carlos, in Act 1, Noemi Morales is a hard-working woman who's living in Los Angeles, California. She's here escaping the civil war in her country, El Salvador. When she gets here, she gets here accompanied by her longtime lover, Carlos Cordova. Carlos Cordova is this ex-military man who's very abusive and very controlling over her life. And when they get here, they're in search for that American dream. They start getting jobs, and they're living in a home. And she just doesn't seem to be happy with Carlos. So over time, she's being more abused and more controlled by Carlos. So then she finds out that she's pregnant with Carlos's kid, and she just doesn't know what to do. Maybe she has some hope that Carlos will stop being abusive towards her and he'll be more caring. But that's not the case. He punches her stomach when she's pregnant, so she knows she needs to get out. So, by the help of her best friend Miriam, Miriam gets her out of that house and takes her into her own home. So now Noemi escapes Carlos's bad habits and she stays with Miriam. She remains at Miriam's house until she gives birth. She finally gives birth to Carlos, her little baby, and she just becomes this new woman. She's very excited, she's very joyful, and she can't wait to start a new life with her new baby. So now they go back to Miriam's house and she remains there until she can get enough money so that Carlos and her can have their own home. So she finally gets enough money to move out of Miriam's house, and Carlos and Noemi get their own home. So now Carlos is growing up, and she's very, very happy to have this new life with her new baby. But over time, she sees something bad in Carlos. He's not talking, and he's around 2.5 years old, and he hasn't even said his first word yet. So Carlos is just being very shy. She just doesn't know. And so she goes to the doctors and she asks, you know what, what's going on with my baby? Like, is he okay? What's going on? And the doctor says, you know what, give some time. Maybe he's really shy. Just give it a few more months. And if not, go to a hearing specialist. So she gives it a couple months. And while this time, she's getting some advice from her friends. Her friends tell her the same thing, but she's not having it. So she goes to the specialist, and the specialist tells her, you know what, let's run some exams on him and come back like in a month, and I'll tell you. So during this month, she tries to have Carlos talk, but Carlos is very sad. He nods his head, no, don't talk, and he covers her mouth, and she just becomes very saddened by this. So she goes back a month later to the specialist, and the specialist actually tells her that Carlos was born deaf and he's going to be deaf for the rest of his life. So Noemi goes into this deep depression. She doesn't know how to feel secure around her baby, but she knows she needs to be strong. So she starts taking these sign language classes with her little toddler, and they both learn sign language really fast. And now it's time for him to go into school. She doesn't want him to go to school because he's afraid that he's going to be bullied, and she won't be able to take that pain. So she needs to let him go. So he finally goes to school, and yeah, he's bullied and he's made fun of because he can't hear, but what can she do? Like, Carlos is like, you know what, it's going to be okay. So for some time she secludes Carlos. She secludes Carlos from all these children. She becomes his best friend, but he doesn't like it. He's like, I want to go play, and she just doesn't let him. But then after some time, now we're in Act 3, she knows that she needs to let her child go. She needs to let him go and live his life because she knows that he's confident enough that he's going to be okay. So she lets him go, and they're actually walking down a park, and they see this little girl, and this little girl comes up to Carlos and says, hey, do you want to play? And Carlos is like, he looks at his mom, and she's just very like, you know what, go for it. And he says yes, and so they start playing, and this is the end of the movie. Like, she's very excited that he's confident, and you know what, everything's gonna be okay. She finally lets her child go.